Hello, good evening and welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, coming to you live from our studio here at Adisawe Kanda in Accra. I am Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Coming up this evening, the Economic and Organized Crime Office is expected to be the epicenter of a lot of action tonight as NPP bigwigs intensify efforts to get bail for the party's incarcerated Ashanti Regional Chairman Bernard Asiedu-Dartey. We'll bring you some legal perspectives as well as an update on the minorities' action in Parliament. Meanwhile, in other stories we have for you on this bulletin, Accra High Court threatens to dissolve the jury hearing Gregory Afoko's murder retrial if the Attorney General is unable to reach a decision on how to proceed with the case. We have details of all these plus sports and business coming your way for the next 1.5 hours. This is 3FM 92.7. You're listening to Hot Edition. And before we delve into the details news, we have also indicated that the Ashanti Regional Chairman of the NPP, Bernard Asiedu-Dartey, has been moved from the offices of IOCO to the NIB, and the former Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, is expected to be there to also commiserate with him and try to pay off or at least grant an assurance for his bail bond. We'll have details of this particular development for you as the show goes on. But let's get a summary of our big stories for this evening. And we have been joined by the Honorable Safwa. Hello, Safwa.
Hi, Martin.
Right,
Thank
so
you.
Give us a summary.
Yes, you're welcome to the news summary segment, and we just go straight into our stories where Minister for Foreign Affairs Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa has denied reports that new individuals have been recruited to replace staff at Ghana's embassy in Washington, D.C. following its recent reopening after a temporary shutdown due to alleged misconduct. Away from that, President John Dramani Mahama has announced that the government will officially launch the 24-hour economy policy in July, most likely on Republic Day, as part of a bold new agenda to transform Ghana's productivity and export capacity. Speaking at a stakeholder consultative meeting at the Jubilee House yesterday, the president described the policy as a structured plan to drive industrial growth, job creation, and efficient resource utilization. Also, the Student Loan Trust Fund has released a second batch of individuals who have defaulted on the repayment of their student loans as part of an ongoing efforts to recover outstanding debts owed to the state. Our last story now, and the government of Ghana has declared Friday, June 6, 2025, a statutory public holiday in observance of Eid al-Adha, one of the most significant festivals on the Islamic calendar. In a statement issued on Thursday, 29th May 2025, and signed by the Minister for Interior, Muntaka Mohammed Mubarak, the ministry announced the general public is hereby informed that Friday, June 6, 2025, marks Eid al-Adha, which is statutory public holiday and should be observed as such throughout the country. And this brings us to the end of our news summary segment. And over to you, Martin.
Thank you very much, Safwa Abuahini, for those summaries of the big stories. Let's bring you the key specifics of the stories we have for you this evening. And you know that the big story for the last 72 hours, probably more, has to do with the Ashanti Regional Chair of the NPP. Well, yesterday, the minority besieged the offices of IOCO, and ahead of that, we're told that they decided to boycott proceedings in Parliament. Well, the latest we have regarding that is the office of IOCO, the head office specifically, is expected to see some intense pressure mount up there by bigwigs of the opposition New Patriotic Party, who are intend to troop to the place in double-up efforts to get the party's Ashanti Regional Chairman, Bernard Asiedu-Dartey, released from the office's holding room. Mr. Asiedu-Dartey, also known as Chairman Wontumi, is still in custody after his lawyers failed to meet his 50 million CD bail condition. He is being investigated for money laundering, fraud, and causing financial loss to the state. 3FM understands that Chairman Wontumi's lawyers, after 48 hours of his arrest, managed to secure one of the two sureties and are awaiting a second surety to complete his release process. We are are also learning that former Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is stepping in to provide the second surety. He's expected at the NIB office any moment from now to assist with that process. We'll update you in a jiffy. Yesterday, members of the minority side in Parliament staged a walkout in protest against the bail amount and his incarceration, and further walked to the Yoko office in solidarity with him. Right, so we'll bring you the thoughts of Alexander Penyomaki, who is the minority leader and has been speaking on issues about what exactly their thoughts are, having to do with what they say is the Iyoko's decision to overstep their bounds. So we'll update you on that. But let's first of all listen to Alexander Penyomaki again, who's been sharing a thought, especially yesterday when the minority marched up in front of Iyoko.
Do you think it is right for a man to be treated the way he's been treated? A Ghanaian citizen, you claim you are investigating him. He goes to the CID headquarters. He walks in freely himself. Police grants him self-recognizance bail. Whilst he's walking out of the police headquarters, in a Rambo style, he's arrested. You interrogate him, he makes himself available. Your next thing is that go and bring title property worth 50 million cedis. What kind of country are we in? Have they looked at the constitution? They should vary the bail terms. The man is unwell. He's in their custody. They know. So they should vary. Wontumi will not run anywhere. And I'm telling our friends in the NDC, 4 years will soon come. And if they think what they are doing is right, they should watch it.
And that is Alexander Penyomaki, who is the minority leader in Parliament. Yesterday, he led the minority side of the House. They walked from Parliament to the premises of Iyoko, and we were told that they intended to stay there throughout the night in solidarity with Chairman Wontumi. But getting to the wee hours of the night, they all left. And as of midnight yesterday, we were unable to count or see any NPP supporter there. Well, the latest information we are getting as of this very moment is that the security apparatus have moved Chairman Wontumi from the offices of Iyoko to the offices of the National Intelligence Bureau, that is the NIB, where we are told also that the former Vice President Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is expected to be there to, commiserate or show solidarity with what is happening to Chairman Wontumi. So some party supporters are also massing up there because, according to our information, they intend to also see the former vice president and hear what he has to say. And the information also indicates that when he does enter the premises, that is, if Dr. Bawumia is able or is given access to enter the premises and he does see Chairman Wontumi, he will try and pick his thoughts on what exactly the situation has been since he's been there for over 48 hours, and also tell him what his party supporters outside are trying to do for him. So if the information we have is anything to go by, then it means that Dr. Bawumia is trying to get the second bail, or will be the second person to stand surety for Chairman Wontumi before he is granted or he's released on bail from the office of the NIB. So why have the security agencies now moved him from Iyoko to the NIB? You would recall that yesterday when the Deputy Attorney General, Dr. Justice Remsai, released information about why Chairman Wontumi was in the custody of Iyoko, there was a component of that release that said that he had also, or he is being suspected to have engaged in some international fraud activities. So it looks as though the NIB is looking into that aspect of the accusations that have been leveled against him, but would keep very close tabs on this and update you subsequently. Earlier here on 3FM, a legal professor with the University of Ghana School of Law, Professor Kwejo Appiah-Jetia, had a thought or two to share. Now, he said the action of the minority was totally unnecessary.
There's a legal way. It's unfortunate that this is the approach that the MPs have decided to adopt, or the NPP as a whole, because the number of lawyers within the NPP that know what the procedure is. If a bail condition is given and it is too onerous to honor, the step provided by the law is to proceed to court, make an application for the bail conditions to be varied. And, bail is a right that every individual or citizen is entitled to. So it cannot be taken away from any person who is alleged to have committed an offense. And so in this particular context, I think the proper thing for the NPP to do is to proceed to court. What is happening is just being dramatic, and I think it's needless. The members of Parliament have a duty to perform within the presence of Parliament. They are supposed to perform their constitutional function. And so doing this does not help them to fulfill the mandate for which they have been assigned to do for the country as a whole. This is taking a parochial interest which doesn't augur well for the good of the country. And it's likely to even lead to lawlessness, because people within the party are taking a cue from what they are doing. So the proper thing is to proceed to court.
So you think, as honorable members, what they did yesterday does not befit them?
No, it is not proper. I think it is needless, and it is creating some drama and unnecessary tension. I think that they know what to do, and they should proceed to do that. To recall, one journalist was attacked at the Iyoko precinct.
Yes.
It could be attributed to this act of lawlessness by the members of Parliament who are supposed to pass the laws and know the law.
In terms of proceeding to court, as you're suggesting, will it be on the ticket of, for instance, bail variation applications, or what people would say habeas corpus petitions?
Habeas corpus means that you don't know where the body is, so you're asking the court to produce the body. But I think they will know where the body is, so it will be for varying of the bail conditions. And the courts always do that. Even in the Edu-Boahen case, in a more recent case, they also went to court for the court to vary the terms. So that is something not unusual, which they know, the lawyers among them, or being a member of Parliament, you should know. So that is the way to go.
We had a private legal practitioner, a person we spoke to earlier. I don't know whether you had the opportunity to listen to him when we played his sound, talking about Iyoko's authority and that 48-hour detention rule. His argument is that Iyoko is overstepping its mandate by detaining Wontumi beyond 48 hours without trial. I'm just wondering what you know about what the law says regarding Iyoko's detention limit, and whether or not Wontumi can challenge this legally.
I don't think I agree with that proposition, because if Iyoko says we will not grant you bail and the 48-hour limit is exceeded, then you can find Iyoko having violated the Constitution. But here, they granted the bail and they said fulfill the conditions before the person will be let go. And that is normal, unless it's a self-recognizance bail. But this kind of bail situation, in sureties and so on, and to be justified, you need to make sure that the bail conditions are met before you can go. So the moment they grant you the bail, that period, 48-hour period, ceases to run. And so at that time, if it's even 1 week before you can meet the bail conditions, then it's entirely your fault. It's the fault of the one who is applying for the, or who is entitled to the bail. And so the 48-hour does not run. And therefore, I don't think you can fault Iyoko for that. For me, what probably you can fault Iyoko is the way they went about to arrest Mr. Wontumi. I think that so-called Rambo-style approach is definitely wrong. But having put him in the cells and interviewed him and saying that we are granting you the bail, but these are the terms. Bail terms necessarily are not supposed to be onerous. But they want to be, Yoko wants to be sure that the person may not run away, or they look at the nature of the offense, the types of crimes that the person is alleged to have committed, to determine the amount of money that should be used for before the bail will be granted. And so if they feel that they are not, it's too onerous and it's burdensome, and they don't think that their client can meet that condition, the next step is to go to court.
So you heard the voice of Professor Kwejo Apieje-Etuya, who is a legal professor with the University of Ghana School of Law, in that interview with Beatrice Edu, which came your way earlier this afternoon on 3FM 92.7. So what exactly has been going on, and what do we know as we speak? We also do know that the minority boycotted Parliament earlier yesterday before deciding to walk to Iyoko. Well, they failed to carry through with their threat as the NPP MPs turned up in the House today to conduct business. Member of Parliament for Bolgatanga Central, Isaac Adongo, slammed the minority for their walkout yesterday. So let's listen to Isaac Adongo, who said that the NPP was not taking parliamentary business serious and were not men of their words.
Mr. Speaker, I think to me it's very, very sad that you are here talking. He was expecting you to sleep at Iyoko with him. You abandoned him to sleep there. And today, you promised the people of Ghana that you abandon this chamber. You are here making a lot of arguments. Wontumi, you people should tell Wontumi his people are deceiving him. And he's sleeping there alone and they are here. Arguing for more holidays.
Honorable Adongo, are they supposed to sleep there with him?
Mr. Speaker, that is what they made us believe.
Chairman of the committee.
We were surprised when they were sitting on the ground there.
Honorable
But when we went there at 7, they had disappeared.
And you heard that, tongue-in-cheek comment by the... he's actually now not just a member of Parliament, but he's also a board member of the Bank of Ghana and MP for Bolga Central, Isaac Adongo, poking fun at the NPP minority who had threatened yesterday that they were going to boycott parliamentary proceedings and walked out. Well, according to what we have heard from not just Isaac Adongo, but what our correspondent tells us from Parliament, the minority came back this morning to continue with parliamentary business. Let's find out what exactly this means for, the activities of the legislature. Parliament, that is. Dr. Rashid Draman is the Executive Director for the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Doc, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Good evening.
I'm sure you heard about the threat to boycott Parliament indefinitely by the minority. Well, earlier today, they returned to the House to conduct business. That must be a positive development for parliamentary business, isn't it?
Yes, indeed it is. And I think we have to commend the members of the minority. It is okay to adopt a strategy, and then if you think it's not going to work, it's also okay to reverse that strategy. I think they realize that perhaps kind of pressure on Iyoko by going to mass up in front of the Iyoko office was really counterproductive. So they decided to come back to the House. If I were to advise the MPP, I would say to use parliamentary channels and all the tools that are available to them in Parliament to try to bring the leaders of Iyoko before the House to answer any questions that they have to answer if they have broken any law. If not, if this whole issue of discretion about certain bail conditions and so on are within the law, perhaps it's time that maybe they sit down together as a house and look at that. I mean, if we don't want the institutions that are created by Parliament to have a lot of discretionary powers, then it is the same Parliament that has the responsibility of making sure that, the law is reset, ensure that, we don't see some of these things happening. If indeed it's a violation of the rights of any Ghanaian, not just the political class.
Doc, let's try and unpack some of the issues, and then I can ask my question. So, is it out of place for members of Parliament to choose that, because someone who is not a member, but a member of Parliament, but a member of their party, being interrogated by state apparatus, security apparatus, is it right for members of Parliament to choose to suspend or boycott developments or discussions about legislative programming or legislative activities to go and support that individual? Is that grounds enough to warrant the boycott of Parliament?
In fact, not at all. If you remember, in the 8th Parliament, the NDC members, the caucus, used to mass up at the court whenever their leader was there, and I think some of us said, no, go back to the house because they've been hired to do parliamentary work. They should go and do their work and leave the leader to go and answer any questions that he had, and if he's cleared by the court, so be it. I think it's the same scenario that we have here, and in fact, in this case, it's not even a member of Parliament. So I think that there's been a lot of reflection on this, and perhaps that's what has brought them back. Because look, the NDC has a supermajority. The absence of a minority, no matter how small it is, from the House, is not good for our democracy, because nobody is there to hold the government to account. Nobody is there to question whatever policy is being discussed, because we would not expect, and rightly so, that the NDC will be critical of its own. So our hope in this era of a supermajority is for the small minority that there is, to be up and doing. And up and doing means they have to be present in the House. If they are absent, a lot of things are going to pass, and legally, the NDC has enough numbers to constitute a quorum to conduct business.
Well, and finally, before you take leave of us, again, it actually is on the back of what you have said. You think that it is not right for just one side to legislate when we want to build a democracy. So whether or not the NDC, the MPP, I beg your pardon, decides to leave Parliament, one side can still conduct because of their numbers. But you think that is not healthy for our democracy?
No, it's not, because we voted for a multi-party, even though we have a dual-party democracy right now. At all times, we want there to be space for the minority to express his views. Even if it's a disagreed view, we want that view expressed on behalf of all of us, so that even if the majority has its way, at least the dissenting voice have been heard and put on record. So that's why it's not really good to have one side. Otherwise, we'll be back to maybe a one-party kind of democracy, which we have all moved away from 30 plus years ago. So yes, also the image of our democracy, I think, in the eyes of the world, is not good if we have a situation where only one side sits down to make decisions on behalf of all of us, even if it is legal according to their rules.
Dr. Rashid Rahman, thank you so much for speaking to us this evening. He is the Executive Director for the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, and telling us whether or not the boycott of the minority in Parliament was even the right decision to make, and what that even means for our democracy. So if you want to get the latest about what's happening to Chairman Wontumi, just go to our Facebook page. We have live pictures and videos, latest videos as well, of what's happening at the NIB office. That's the National Investigations Bureau office, where the Ashanti Regional Chair of the NPP has been moved to. And NPP party supporters are also gathering at the location, and it looks as though it is getting quite heated. So the move for the minority to mass up at the Iyoko office has been botched, and now they've decided to start massing up at the NIB office. So the live pictures you'd want to see, just go to our website and then our Facebook page as well. And what we are seeing now is that the minority leader, Alexander Penyomarking, has arrived at the NIB office and has been giving access. Him and one other MP were the only two people who've been given access into the premises of the NIB. And of course, it is because it is Penyomarking, he's a minority leader of parliament, so he has a few privileges he can enjoy, one of which is that he's just been given access to go and speak to, or at least see, Chairman Wontumi in the offices of the NIB. Many party supporters are still there. They actually prevented or are stopping the police from mounting a barricade which would push them or shift them back to create space in front of the NIB premise. But the minority leader came in about 3 minutes ago, and after some conversations with the leadership of the police service who are there right now, he's been given access. Just two people have been given access into the premises of the NIB office. Right. As it stands, we are yet to hear why Chairman Wontumi has been moved to the NIB office, but we know why he was held yesterday at the Iyoko premise. Let's get some security thoughts on this. Richard Kumado is a security consultant. We spoke to him yesterday, on whether or not that minority's decision to stage that demonstration or a protest or a picket, whichever word you use to describe it, whether it was wrong or right or wrong. And he says it was wrong because they did not get the right permit before undertaking that exercise. He's joined us again to help us understand the security perspectives on this new development. Mr. Kumado, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Martin.
Can you help us guess why the security agency would move Chairman Wontumi from Iyoko and now bring him to the NIB?
Okay, so that was one of the options I made available to Kemini yesterday in the afternoon. That once people besiege Iyoko, one of the options available to the investigators is to pick him out of the place, particularly when he has not finished answering some questions presented to him. But then the dynamics changed. Why did it change? We heard that the vice president was on his way to ensure that the bill terms had been fulfilled. As to whether he is standing himself as a surety or not, we did not know. And so why it changed drastically, we will need to wait and hear a little bit more. Other than that, it was one of the options available to law enforcement officers to take him out of Iyoko, because Iyoko predominantly may not have enough facilities to entertain the massive crowd that they have. Now, when they besiege the head office of the BNI, it has happened before, many years ago. Two things are going to happen. They will allow the leadership of the party into the yard, and the other supporters will be outside the yard. But what will happen between law enforcement agencies, staff, and the supporters who gathered there, we will need to wait a little bit more to see. But it is one of the options they have to move him out of the place.
Right, and just before you go on, our images we have received this very moment indicate that former Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has arrived at the NIB office and is also surrounded by many party supporters. And clearly it was on the back of the fact that information we are picking indicate that Dr. Bawumia is likely to be the second person to stand surety for Chairman Wontumi to be released. And as we speak, he is also being granted access into the NIB premises, just like Dr. Alexander Afenyo-Markin and some party supporters. So they have allowed Dr. Bawumia in, and the party people are forcing themselves to enter the premise of the the NIB office. And the police are standing, on the side, probably unable to control those who are forcing themselves in. So when they open the door for Dr. Bawumia to go in, many other MPs and party loyalists or people we know as MPP supporters managed to squeeze themselves around Dr. Bawumia entering. So it looks as though right now it's going to be quite chaotic inside the premises of the NIB. But we do have a security consultant with us to help us understand how all of this could have been prevented. So would you have advised, for instance, Mr. Kumado, that just when the NIB officials got hint that they were going to be having unexpected visitors of supporters in their numbers, they could have quickly put in the barricade before the people arrived? Could that have been a way of dealing with this crowd?
Yeah, that could be one of the ways of dealing with it. Or they also know that when you enter the premises of the BNI, it has a holding area. So even if you have a lot of people in there, they have the ability of holding them up. And it has happened before. I think when President Mahama was the president the first time, a lot of MPP people entered the premises and they were held up at the holding area. What happens when you enter the holding area and what happens outside of the wall are two different things. And we will need to wait patiently to see the outcome of that. But some number of people will be allowed into the holding area. It doesn't mean once you enter the gate, you enter into the offices of the NIB. It's a well-secure area, but I suppose they will be in the holding area. We only hope and pray reason will prevail, and there will not be chaotic situations where law enforcement agencies will have to engage with civilians. There could be casualties on both sides.
Do you think that the NIB, for instance, would flout any law if they also hold Chairman Wontumi more than 48 hours?
No. If they hold him within 48 hours, what we would need to know, as people who comment on many of these things and as senior journalists as yourself, we would need to know the reason why the BNI will be holding him for tonight or for tomorrow, which then makes it 48 hours. Then, of course, you are aware that law enforcement agencies are mindful of the fact that all crimes are bailable. And if you want to hold somebody more than 48 hours, there are standard procedures to follow. Vis-a-vis going to the court. And for you and I, it will be interesting to know the new charges against him or the continuation of the case and why he has been transferred to the BNI and why the BNI will want to hold him for a day or for 48 hours. But then it's also important to make the point, as I made yesterday, that once the FIC has frozen your account and it has become clear that you are being investigated for fraud and money laundering, financial crime, and many others, the investigative agencies can investigate you concurrently or simultaneously. This is the office of the Special Prosecutor, the YOCO, the BNI, and the Financial Crime Department of the Police. And they can do it concurrently or simultaneously. And I don't know whether that is what is happening to Chairman Wontumi now, but it's also a tendency and a proposition that can be put on the table. So we need to wait patiently and see what the reason to be.
Right. I am so grateful that you have given these perspectives on these issues. Richard Kumado is a security consultant and spoke to us briefly on what the security implications of all of this mean going forward. So the live pictures are still on our Facebook page. Do log on and you can follow the developments. The latest regarding Chairman Wontumi's arrest and back and forth is that he was moved from the offices of IOCO to the premises of the NIB, and upon the arrival at the NIB, some party supporters started gathering there and MPs as well, MPP MPs as well. Over time, people who you can't tell whether they are supporters or just passers-by or just onlookers have also gathered there. So the numbers are growing. But Alexander Penyomaki, who is the minority leader, got there and was allowed access into the premises of the NIB office. And about 5 or so minutes ago, the former Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, whom we are told is the one granting the second surety for the bail conditions of Chairman Wontumi, has also arrived at the premises of the NIB and was granted access. And during his time of trying to enter, we saw a number of party supporters also squeeze themselves through the entrance and are inside right now. So as to what's happening inside the premises of the NIB, we are unable to tell. But the images you're seeing on your Facebook page are the developments outside of the NIB, and we all await to see or hear what is happening inside. Certainly when the officers come out, they will speak to the media, so we all get to know the latest regarding that. And it is again to check on the health of Chairman Wontumi, who has been arrested and has been in the custody of the security services for over 48, almost 4 days now since his arrest. So we all await to see and hear and get better information regarding that. Security, I beg your pardon, a political analyst, Dr. Jonathan Asiedu-Dartey, has also been following this development and has joined us for some thoughts and perspectives on this. Mr. Asiedu-Dartey, good evening. Thank you. Dr. Asiedu-Dartey, good evening. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, my brother Martin.
Right, I'm sure that for the last 72 hours and counting, you have kept close eyes on what's happening both politically and security-wise, and because it is part of our democratic process. But what would your thoughts be? I mean, the fact that the minority boycotted proceedings, gathered there, have now, they promised to stay, they left. Today, the venue has changed, and we have seen some MPs gathering there as well. Generally, what do you make of this?
Well, I think that it's working. Security-wise, it is tight. Politically, you can look at it from different perspectives. I think that the minority has done a thing by leaving Parliament, not because somebody or the government had brought a bill that was not in the interest of the people of Ghana, or a law is being promulgated which they disagree, or a particular tax handle has been introduced which their people or followers believe that it should be expunged. We are talking about a private citizen who belongs to the MPP party, who is not a government official, neither is he a member of Parliament, who is being investigated for several, crimes, so to speak, money laundering, international organized crime, fraud, name them. But you see, this particular trend did not start today. It's been there. But I think that if we are really principled, then we should be interested in the kinds of allegations that are leveled against the person, and on principle, stay A, B, C, or D. To hear from the minority that, for example, the bail conditions should be valid, speaking in that authoritative manner, for me, is mark of lawlessness. And I want to say that this kind of minority leadership that is being provided by the senior Martins will come back to haunt me, because you see, we are virtually preventing accountability. We are the same set of persons who say, oh, we believe in accountability. We must be, we must account to the people. When accountability is being exacted, we want to prevent that from happening. I don't want to believe that the actions of the minority tacitly or implicitly is in support of those who do galamsey in this country. Because to go to the aid of Mr. Wontumi in that manner, for me, is a tacit admission of the fact that Don't believe that this man got himself involved in guarantee operations and that is not done A, B, C, and D. So for me, it is a bizarre situation. The minority, elders acting as kids is just unbelievable. Sitting on the street, that will not take any political advantage. What Ghanaians need now, which I'm thinking is what is happening, is the fact that for the first time in many years, which I don't really remember, we are seeing prices of goods and services coming down. These are the things that Ghanaians are looking at. And for me, the goodwill of government is still so huge, which is a big problem for the MPP. And that is what they are trying to do. If, for example, Mr. Asiedu secured from the court a situation where he was able to argue for a reduction of the bail condition for his client, why couldn't you have done the same thing? But you want to use a belligerent means of securing that bail condition for Chairman Wontumi. That, for me, is lawlessness. And I don't think that that is the way we want to build our democracy. It will not end us anywhere.
You describe the action of the minority as, they acted as kids, deciding to boycott proceedings and going to sit on the floor like they did. But, they feel that one of their own is being, quote unquote, intimidated and maltreated. Wouldn't that be a fair reason why you'd want to, show that you disagree with the process, and so they should either release him or waive the bail conditions under which he currently is?
Martin, abandoning parliamentary proceedings, not in the name of something untoward happening to a colleague in parliament, not in the name of a bad bill, a bad law, a bad tax handle that is going to affect we, the ordinary Ghanaians. But for this, then you are doing that. For me, you are a very unprincipled person. The reason to boycott Parliament to go for that thing is unfounded. It doesn't hold water. If, for example, it were to be party faithful, those in the grassroots, because if you could see that, what is happening to me, Mr. Wontumi, it has some level of support within the party itself. So it tells you that the man, you see, is a walking paradox. He has become very unpopular within the party. It is just the establishment. So I think that I will urge the law enforcers and the attorney generals and all those who matter in this particular issue, these charges that have been leveled against him, if they think that they are affirmed on the ground, then I think that they should hurriedly press charges and go to court on this. That, for me, will stop some of these things that are happening. Because, look, this thing creates the impression that the political class are above the law. They are indeed above the law. And I believe that if indeed the president is resetting this country, then nobody should be seen to be above the law, to be behaving, in that manner. What happened yesterday, for example, there was not a situation where any of them got arrested, any of them got beaten. That, for me, is reassuring. It tells me that we are growing our democracy. We have a better leader than the previous one. If the youth could go on demonstration for a good deed on the principle of Galamsey, and they will be incarcerated for weeks without bail, then I think that we have a better leader than the previous one. And that is in itself is showing. But you see, if they are not careful and they think that they will want to, usurp the authority of the security forces, in the end, they will blame the government. But if you try to usurp the authorities of the security forces, you incur their displeasure. And that, for me, is something that potentially could happen. And that is what the opposition is looking out for. And that is the only means they want to prune down the goodwill of the current government. It is just that they are forcing their hand to do the unthinkable. But so far, so good. They've been able to handle them. And I believe that they are in the right, path.
Two final questions, before, then you can leave us. Kindly indulge me. First of all, let me take you into the camp of the NPP. Videos, comments, and analysis we've gotten from the Ashanti region indicate that some MPP supporters, even on the back of the number of MPs that came to the Iyoko premises yesterday, some MPP people are in support of the fact that Chairman Wontumi is with the security services undergoing investigations, and are commending the current president and the current administration for even deciding to invite him or pick him up for investigation. How do you see this playing out, especially when it has to do with a party that you would have ordinarily thought that many of them would all mass up in support of Chairman Wontumi?
Yeah. Martin, you see, in one breath of my submission, I made allusion to that, to the effect that there are some party faithful who are in support of what is happening. And if it is coming from the Ashanti region, what does this mean? The unbridled pride that Mr. Wontumi demonstrated as chairman of the party, that led to that kind of huge apathy against the establishment, including that Baumia, contributed to the massive loss of the MPP in the general elections. Unguarded pronouncement from Mr. Wontumi has not in any way inured to his benefit. It has rather created a wedge within the party, both at the top and at the bottom. That's the more reason why he doesn't stand a chance should he try to contest the regional chairmanship once again. Truth be told, the type of MPP that we grew up to see and know when it was formed, how on earth can you have somebody like this to be the chairman of the very hub of the party? It is because they compromise their standards, money, resources that are available to that man. That's the more reason why they compromise their stance. When in actual fact, this man cannot even comprehend, read. When they are having meetings, he cannot comprehend strategy, nothing. All he knows is buga buga. And it is very shameful that the MPP that projects itself as an elitist party will want to have somebody like that manning the affairs of the very region that gives birth to their government. Don't forget, in 2008, Mr. Akufo-Addo nearly used 3 regions to win the elections in this country. And it was because the Ashanti region provided the vote. So, as of now, those in the Ashanti region, they are very much apathetic, against Mr. Wontumi. And the current leadership will have to be very careful, because if they are trying to secure their future in the next internal elections, right? And that's the more reason why everybody wants to demonstrate their readiness at this particular point in time. If they are not careful, they will incur the displeasure of the grassroots. Because if at the end of the day, all these charges come out in the open to hold water, my goodness, the current leadership will suffer some kind of tsunami when it comes to the internal elections.
Wow. Right. Then my final question would be the government's posturing. People have raised questions about, for instance, when Chairman Wontumi had been detained for over 48 hours and the agitation started building up. It was then that the Deputy Attorney General came out to tell us that it was fraud charges and money laundering, etc. That was the reason why Chairman Wontumi was being detained. How do you advise government goes about this? That they tell us why someone is going to be picked up or has been picked up before they do, so then we all know. I mean, that would have probably prevented the minority from massing up or deciding to go and gather at the Iyoko office. Would you not agree? And while at that, would you expect maybe the president to still be quiet about this and focus on what he's doing, or maybe considering that this is also of national interest, he should say something about it?
Well, I wouldn't want to advise the president to interfere in any way. Even if he's in the know, I think that he should allow the system to work. As for the first leg of your question, look, through a judgment that Mr. Martin Asiedu secured, we know that every offense, every crime is bailable, but you must meet the bail conditions. And that is something that Mr. Wontumi struggled to secure. And of course, the 48-hour, has passed. But it is not the fault of the state institution or state security. We want you released. Bring the bill, satisfy the bill conditions. If you're not able to satisfy, then they cannot say that they are releasing you. Or maybe they will have to go to court and secure a remand. That, for me, could have been more, legitimate and more legalistic than just also keeping quiet and allowing the opposition to, to go there en masse and so on and so forth. These things could easily lead to some kind of instability or some kind of lawlessness. That's not something that we need. What we need now is that as a nation, we have a new government that is trying to rebuild the economy. We are having some stability. We are seeing some growth, positive predictions here and there. Those are the things that are of interest to the ordinary Ghanaian. But I think that if government so wishes, I don't know, but if the Attorney General who are in charge of whatever charges that they will have to, ensure that Mr. Wontumi faces and all those things, if they so wish that the man has satisfied the bail condition, why not? If they also think that the potential crime or the alleged crime that is committed is not up to 50 million, then it means that it is a form of punitive measure that you are trying to mete out to Mr. Wontumi. That in itself, for me, is unethical and unprofessional. That being said, which I don't want to believe that is the case, I believe that the process or the system must be seen to be foolproof. Nobody should be seen to be doing the unthinkable. Mr. Wontumi himself, when he went to the CID, he said he was treated fairly. He never complained. It is the Yoko thing that, has brought a different issue altogether with respect to this particular arrest and detention. So I will urge government, I don't think that the president will have to speak on this matter. If the president speaks on this matter, it means that he's in the know. It is often said that in a local parlance, is ensuring that those who are the appointees are ensuring the system works. If the man's bail condition has been satisfied, release him. And if you need him, those bail conditions, must be stated. Every week or every 3 days or whatever he must report, he must go ahead. But you see, if somebody has been accused of money laundering and other things, if you are not careful, that person can easily obliterate, the path of evidence. When you release such a person, it is for a good reason that you will have to go to court, secure a remand, a proper remand, so that you believe that the person can easily interfere in the investigation process. Therefore, you want to secure a remand, maybe a week or two for the person. The problem that we are facing is that high-profile individuals in this country who think that they are above the law, these are the kinds of things that they have been doing over the period. And I think that we need to call them out and say that enough is enough. When the political class who is exposed has infringed the law of this country, this is part of the accountability. And I think that we are all subject to the Constitution and to the authority of the laws of this country. And we must all be subjected to that. Accountability is the key.
Yes. Thank you so much for your time and thoughts this evening, Dr. Jonathan Asiedu-Dartey. Thank you so much for speaking to us. He is a political analyst and also lectures at the University of Cape Coast Political Science Department, and was, clearly giving what the political perspectives on this issue would be or should be, and has advised, for instance, that the president has a prerogative. Of course, he knows what's happening. He can choose to speak about it or not. Secondly, he also believes that the state security authorities should be allowed to do their work and proceed with how things should go. Thirdly, he touches on the fact that the decision of the minority to boycott Parliament, matters of legislature to mass up the premises of the NIB was totally wrong and did not warrant the fact that they are leaving why they've been voted into Parliament to go and support an individual whom, may have flouted some laws, for which reason the security agencies have picked them up. He thought that if they have concerns, they can use the legal process. So he described it as childish, the way the minority just went to the Iyoko premises and sat on the floor. So you're still listening to 3FM 92.7. This is our special edition of the bulletin, and largely it is on the subject of Chairman Wontumi's arrest and why he is still in the custody of security agencies. Yesterday, he was with the Iyoko officials. Today, he is with the NIB officials, and we are unable to tell what exactly is the reason why he has moved or has been moved to the NIB place. Then again, would want to draw your attention to the fact that the minority leader, Alexander Penyomakin, is in the Iyoko premise, and some members of parliament as well. But more importantly, the vice president of the last election, I beg your pardon, of the previous government, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, is also the NIB and was there to first solidarize with Chairman Wontumi, speak to him, at least get his own perspective on what exactly the situation is. And we are told that he is the one that will stand as the second surety. Mind you, Chairman Wontumi has been given a bail condition of 50 million Ghana cedis, and the 50 million Ghana cedis is what the minority believe is outrageous, and that they cannot find any sort of support, financial support or property to that amount, so they cannot. That is why they've not been able to raise that 50 million Ghana cedi bail bond to release Dr. Chairman Wontumi. And that 50 million cedis is also with two sureties. One surety has been guaranteed. The second one is what it looks like though the MPP is awaiting. So if they are able to get that second guarantee, which we are told is going to be Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia himself, going to stand as a second guarantee for Chairman Wontumi, then from all things, if all things go according to what we are hearing, then maybe, just maybe, Chairman Wontumi will be released today. But the news is he is still in NIB offices and has some people visiting him. At least yesterday, he did not get to see anyone come there to speak to him. But today, we're told that the vice president and the leadership of the NPP have been there to speak to him. It is still a very fluid situation, and how things are developing, at least nothing chaotic has happened. It's just that he is in the premises of the NIB. Let's go to the phone lines again. Dr. Kweku Ananijinde is a law lecturer at GIMPA and has joined us on the phone. Doc, a very good evening to you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Legally, if you have a client who, the security or the state believes is doing something untoward or has done something untoward and is kept beyond 48 hours, are there other legal ways you can fight for him to be released?
Well, I think, thanks for having me once again. Our constitution says if you arrest somebody for whatever reason, you are allowed to keep him, the suspect, for 48 hours. After 48 hours, either you release and grant him bail, or if you think you will still need to keep him for further investigation, what you do is you send him to court. So if you are able to make a case for the court to understand you, then the court may either grant or refuse the bail. But if it happens that way, there is no more in your custody. It is in bail because is in jail because the court has so he's being in jail at the request of the court, at the behest of the court. So normally this is what happens. After 48 hours, you send a person, if you're able to make a good case, and then the court will grant your request. Okay, you can hold him for 2-3 weeks. And then the court, you have to convince the court. You have to convince the court why you need to hold them for further investigation. And remember, it is about human rights. So the court is going to balance the right of that individual to freedom and then the need of the state to hold him in custody. So it is a balancing act. And before the court will grant you that, first you have to establish that, well, if we grant him the bail, he may abscond. He's a flight risk. We may not find him. Or he may interfere with our investigation. Or the person does not have a permanent place of abode. So if we leave him, we cannot trace him when we need him. So if you're able to convince the court, then the court will grant you your request that, okay, go and hold him for this number of years to enable you continue with the investigations. But the moment the 48 hours has elapsed, and you haven't sent the person to court, you are infringing on his fundamental human rights per Article 12.
Okay.
So this is what I will say for now.
Okay.
48 hours have elapsed, and he's still in the custody of DNI, NIB, Yoko, whatever.
Right.
Which is not a court-granted bail.
Okay.
A court-granted detention. Then it means his rights have been infringed upon. That is it.
Okay, but counsel, how about the fact that they granted him bail, but now it is his lawyers that are unable to meet the bail conditions, for which reason he is still there? They say 50 million Ghana cedis with two sureties. One of it has been, they've been able to secure one, but the second hasn't been secured, for which reason he's still in detention. That doesn't, how does that still flout
I'm
the
not
law?
cutting you short. If that is the case, it means it is the lawyers who have not been able to meet the bail requirement. You know, every bail, there are certain requirements that you have to bring 3 sureties or whatever, and the sureties must bring documents of their landed property or some amount of money. So they tell you that. But if you are not able to meet that, then it is not the fault of that body that you are not able to meet the requirement. They tell you, these are our requirements, these are the conditions. If you meet them, we grant the bail. But if you don't meet them, we don't grant you. So now the ball is in the court of the suspect and then his lawyers.
Okay.
You have to make sure that they get the proper people to go and stand in for surety. That is all.
So in that regard, then the law enforcement body or agency has not flouted the law, have they?
No. They've not flouted, because they said, before we grant you bail, these are the conditions. If you meet them, we grant you the bail. But if you're not able to meet the conditions, well, sorry, you've not met the conditions as required. So you will still languish in jail.
Okay.
So you don't fault the security agencies that the suspect has not been able to meet the bail requirements. No, you don't fault them.
Okay. And maybe finally, could it also be that the agencies deliberately, like the minority is pushing, they say the agency deliberately gave an amount they know he cannot meet? I mean, is that a grounds on which you can make an argument?
Well, I think the agency, they are just doing their work as professionals, I presume. So if somebody wants to read political meanings into it, that is their business. But I'm talking law, they are talking politics. So they can do their politics, and then I just want to stick to the legal aspect. These are the bail requirements. If you meet them, fine. Then we grant you the bail. If you are not able to meet them, then we continue to hold him until you meet the requirement.
But that's dangerous, isn't it, Counsel? That could also then mean that maybe a whole week, a whole month, if you're unable to meet it, you're still in custody.
Well, there's another option. If you think that the bail requirements are extreme and unreasonable, what you can do is you go to court and file what we call habeas corpus.
Okay.
So that they will produce the body and bring him before court for a determination as to whether you should hold him further or not. So I'm surprised they're still following this case for that long. If I were one of them, I would just go to court and file what we call habeas corpus, produce the body before a court, and then make a justifiable reason why you should hold him.
Right.
You should continue to hold him. But if they don't, and then they still want to follow the requirements as demanded by the security agencies, well, this is what happens. But the security agencies will tell you that, look, we are operating within the confines of the law. Okay. We're just saying what the law requires and state. So we haven't done anything untoward, anything unlawful or illegal or unconstitutional. So we are just following what the law requires us to do as professionals.
I know that I've held you on for a bit too long. Final thought on this, and a quick question. The grounds on which we were told Iyoko was holding Chairman Wontumi, one was fraud, money laundering, and there was a third one. If a habeas corpus, for instance, is granted and he's produced in court, would you say the security agencies can't justify why, if these are the real reasons why they are keeping him, fraud, money laundering, and then a third charge, that is grounds enough for the court to say, okay, then maybe keep him longer and keep your investigations going?
Well, I don't have the full details of the charges they preferred against him. But remember, before Martin Asiedu-Dartey versus Attorney General, before that case, the security agencies could hold people for a long time. We had bailable and non-bailable offenses. But after that case, that ruling, the Supreme Court said now all offenses in Ghana are bailable.
Right.
So there's a Supreme Court ruling to that effect. So it means if they have gone to court, depending on the argument that the lawyers will put, and then the judges will have to weigh. Well, although all offenses are bailable under the ruling of Martin Asiedu-Dartey versus Attorney General, but sometimes it's at the discretion of the judge. They will look at the gravity of the crime, the seriousness of the crime, the players involved, the actors involved, and then the effect of the suspected crime that has been committed. So the court will have to look at all this. But for now, I think they have to meet. If they don't want to file for habeas corpus, what they have to do is to meet the bail requirements.
Okay, counsel, it's a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for the legal perspectives you bring to this.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
You too,
Bye.
sir.
Bye.
We've been speaking to Dr. Kweku Anani Jinde, who is a law lecturer at GIMPA and has been giving us some really interesting legal opinions on this development. This is still 3FM 92.7. Look, you are also a Ghanaian. You have been following these issues with us. Let us know what you make of the development, and we would absolutely be happy to share your thoughts. Later, we'll be reading some of your messages that are coming in. But we indicated that a lot is happening at the premises of Iyoko, where the party supporters are massing up, and of NIB, I should say, the National Investigations Bureau. That is where Chairman Wontumi has been sent now, and he's been there for the last 2 to 3 hours, I should say. Again, party supporters, including the minority leader, Alexander Penyomarkin, and former Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, have all been inside to at least see and talk to Chairman Wontumi. And on the back of that, some other members of Parliament or NPP supporters have got to the premises of the NIB and have been speaking. One of them is Dominic Nitil, who is the Member of Parliament for Bimbilla and also a former National Security Minister. Let's listen to what he has been telling the media when he got to the grounds.
I'm very disappointed in the style of governance of President Mahama with respect to these particular matters. I'm very disappointed because yesterday I told the former President Nado Dankwa Akufo-Addo that the powers that they are using to harass people, you had those powers for 8 years. That's not what we saw. Nobody is above the law, and nobody is above the crime, and nobody is above the laws of this country. But there's always a way of going about this. You don't arrest somebody, keep him, and come and say that you have a bill condition of 50 million Ghana. How many people in Ghana are able to raise 50 million Ghana cedi to build one? What sort of crime? Somebody is being treated like a common criminal. Can the NDC imagine for a second that when we're in power, we go to Volta region and arrest the Volta regional chairman of the
Honorable, shouldn't we be asking that, is it that nobody in the NPP has 50 million Ghana cedis?
It is not about 50 million Ghana cedi. It is not about somebody having 50 million Ghana cedi. That is not it. I am saying that, can the president look into our face and tell us what would have been the reaction of the NDC if the MPP were to go to Volta region and arrest the regional chairman of the NDC? Our stronghold is the Ashanti region. Is it out of disrespect to the people in the area or what? Can you imagine what would have happened? We don't want this country to burn. Nobody wants that. But I want to let the president know that he should stop those middle-level people from misbehaving. It's not good. It's setting a precedent that we will not be able to endure as a country as we go forward. Other people have come before him as presidents. I don't think that what he's doing, they did that to anybody.
Right, so we will bring you the full version of what Dominic Niti has been saying, but the latest from what we are seeing is that the minority leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, is currently out of the NIB office, and I'm also trying to see if it is just him that is out or the vice president is also out. But like we indicated, when the minority leader, Afenyo-Markin, arrived at the NIB premises, he was giving access to enter into the domain to at least see and speak to Chairman Wontumi. But this very moment as we speak, he is outside the premises, which indirectly gives the indication that he has come out of the premise to speak to the gathering. And so we are waiting to see what he will be saying, because we get indications that he may be addressing the media anytime soon. So while we wait for that, we are hoping that we would also get further thoughts on this. But we know that minority leader is out of the NIB office, surrounded by some other party supporters and many cameras and phones, all trying to hear and listen to what he has to say to the people. So maybe we should go back and listen to what Dominic Niti has been saying. Then in the next few minutes, we'll try and get the thoughts of Alexander Afenyo-Markin on what it is that he saw when he went in to speak to Chairman Wontumi as he visited him in the NIB office.
Martins, you don't arrest somebody, keep him, and come and say that you have a bill condition of 50 million Ghana. How many people in Ghana are able to raise 50 million Ghana cedi to build one? What sort of crime? Somebody is being treated like a common criminal. Can the NDC imagine for a second that when we're in power, we go to Volta region and arrest the Volta regional chairman of the
Honorable, shouldn't we be asking that, is it that nobody in the MPP has 50 million Ghana cedis?
It is not about 50 million Ghana cedi. It is not about somebody having 50 million Ghana cedi. That is not it. I am saying that, can the president look into our face and tell us what would have been the reaction of the NDC if the MPP were to go to Volta region and arrest the regional chairman of the NDC? Our stronghold is the Ashanti region. Is it out of disrespect to the people in the area or what? Can you imagine what would have happened? We don't want this country to burn. Nobody wants that. But I want to let the president know that he should stop those middle-level people from misbehaving. It's not good. It's setting a precedent that we will not be able to endure as a country as we go forward. Other people have come before him as presidents. I don't think that what he's doing, they did that to anybody. Not even Rawlings. Rawlings moved away from that. The sort of things that we saw happening, from his appointments to the way they handled the military people, the way they are handling the security people, to what is happening now, is reminiscent of 1981 to 85. Exactly. Those days are past.
Exactly. But Honorable, they made several examples that they feel that in your time, you did same. Honorable Sesu, for instance, was chased, even in church, that policemen were waiting for him outside of the church, waiting to arrest him. He was chased to Parliament, even for traffic regulations.
So was it when we took over that they chased Sesu?
You're still listening to 3FM 92.7. So we are going straight to the NIB office, where Minority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin is addressing the media after a briefing or seeing Chairman Wontumi inside the NIB premises. Let's pick the feed now.
From Yoko. Well, all those arrangements were made, but upon getting here, they now tell us different story. We'll keep to it, and I'm sure some, I don't know, but I find it very worrying that a country, Ghana, inquiry bail, or someone would demand 50 million cedis worth of properties before the person is granted inquiry bail. I'm telling my friends in NDC one more time, they should check some of these things. because posterity is watching them. Thank you very much.
Were you able to see him at least? Were you able to see him? Did they allow you to see him?
Not at all, like I said. He's nowhere to be found. They claim they couldn't bring him. They claim they couldn't bring him here, and he's still in the custody of NIB at their Kaokudi office, where they claim until Yoko authorizes, we cannot even see him. But you and I know that they are using the bail to punish him. And like I said, posterity is watching.
They will not even accept Baumia's plea?
So, we're still talking. We have the
So, that was the minority leader who just addressed the gathering.
So,
and
you just heard the minority leader Alexander Peñomaking speaking to the media a few minutes ago when he came out from the NIB office after he was allowed access in there, and the vice president as well. And a brief summary of what he has been saying. He says, first of all, he is disappointed in the fact that they couldn't see Chairman Wontumi. So what he's saying is that when they inquired about the whereabouts of Chairman Wontumi, they were told that he is at the NIB office at Kaukudi. So not the head office of the NIB where they had all gathered and massed up at, but then he's rather, or that was what they were told, that he's rather at the Kaukudi premises. That's quite interesting considering the fact that all of this, all along, almost all of us thought that Chairman Wontumi will be at or is at the NIB head office here. But from what Peñomaking is saying, he's not there. He's rather at the Kaukudi office. So that is one. Secondly, he goes on to say that they have not been allowed access to him, and they were insisting on the inquiry bail, on him fulfilling the 50 million bail condition with two sureties. So we also do know that the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, former Vice President, I should say, has been speaking. He says that he is also disappointed and that the NIB did not allow them to see Chairman Wontumi because of the crowds, and says that they are going to follow due process to ensure that he is released. Let's listen to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, former Vice President, who was also at the NIB head office.
Thank you very much. We had made some arrangements to come and see our chairman, Wontumi, who was arrested and has been held in custody by Iyoko. We've made those arrangements. Unfortunately, we are here that the NIB and Iyoko feel that the crowd is such that they are not able to bring him here at the moment, and they will have to make proper arrangements to bring him so that we can see him. And we are going to continue making those arrangements. We are very, very disappointed in our inability to see him because we had made prior arrangements, and so we've expressed our disappointment, and we want to continue and to make sure that we can see him. I must put on record that the bail conditions that have been set for Chairman Wontumi's bail, 50 million Ghana cedis, is very onerous. I don't know how many people in Ghana can have property with 50 million Ghana cedis. And I believe that this was essential to prevent his timely release. We are going to follow the due process, the legal process, to make sure that he's released as soon as possible. I want to plead with all of you to remain calm as we work behind the scenes to make sure that he is out. I believe that we will be successful, but we have to be calm and not take the law into our own hands. I think it's very important that we follow due process and make sure that Chairman Wontumi is released safe and sound. Thank you very much for your attention.
And you heard the voice of the former Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, there after being granted access into the inner perimeter to talk to find out the latest regarding Chairman Wontumi. So again, the minority leader is still speaking now. Probably we can get some clarity on what he saw. He's talking to some journalists. Let's listen in.
Things that happen in government, there will be no end to quote and unquote retaliation. We've had this democracy since 1993. I'm sure that what we seek to do as democrats perfect it. So I do not expect a person going through some injustice, some human rights abuse, to turn round upon getting power to say that, okay, it is my time. I am also going to show whoever is in opposition where the power lies. What is happening to Wontumi now is about show of power. That Wontumi, he thinks is this, we'll show him. That's obviously what is happening. And I'm saying that if we are serious as Democrats, we would start a new dispensation, which would help the cause of democracy.
So how are we going to advance generally towards the meeting the bill conditions?
I'm saying the bill conditions are very onerous. Iyoko should vary them and allow admit the man to self-recognizance bail.
As of now, you don't even know his condition as to whether he's doing well or not.
He's unwell.
No.
The man is not running away anywhere. Even look at the circumstances of his arrest. They accosted him. They arrested him in a Rambo style.
Rambo style. In a Rambo style, they arrested. The fullness of time, all things shall align.
Okay, but in the fullness of time,
all things shall align.
all outstanding things shall align.
Thank you very much for speaking to us.
And that is the minority leader, Alexander Afenyo-Marking, there addressing the media again, trying to also share his views on what has gone on so far, saying that on the back of all of this development, he thought that with a new government coming in, they'll take opportunity of the fact that many Ghanaians voted for them to set the entire country on a new path, indirectly saying that let's forgive all sins of the past, open a new page and start afresh as a country to consolidate the democracy that we have. But there are many, many more who would disagree with that position, that if people have been in power, knowing full well what the laws say, and deliberately flout these laws, they should be held accountable for it. So that's the thought or the perspective he's bringing to the conversation. And again, reiterated that point that the bail condition was onerous and was too much, and that 50 million Ghana cedis was absurd and could not be met, for which reason Chairman Wontumi is still in the custody of the security services. Yesterday, he was with Iyoko. Today, we are told that he is with the NIB at the head office. Leadership of the NPP, both in Parliament and as a party, went there in the anticipation to see or meet him or talk to him. But we're told that the person, the individual himself, Chairman Wontumi, was not at the party head office and was rather in another office of the NIB. So it looks as though the police are leaving the place. For Mr. Afenyo-Marking himself is also exited or is leaving the premises of the NIB and seems calm, or relative calm is returning to the premises of the NIB, which has seen some level of activity. Very busy day has been for the officers there. And as we bring the bulletin to an end, it looks as though we may just have to keep our fingers crossed to see what next will play out following the arrest of Chairman Wontumi. Clearly, this has dominated the headlines in the country, and we'll see how the next few hours or days will help us to get a clear understanding of where it is going to be. Many of you have also been talking to us and talking to us in terms of sharing your thoughts on Facebook. So let me see if I can pick a comment on two of what you have been saying, and I would also share it with the rest of the world, because clearly we've been live since this particular development started, and we've been streaming. And so maybe if we have a minute or two, we can try and share your thoughts or your perspectives that you've brought. Oh, well, maybe we'll do that subsequently. But thank you very much for listening. I'm handing you over to Abiam and the rest of the team to keep you entertained. But join myself, Martin Asiedu-Dartey, and Aisha Yakubu Khalid on TV3 at 7 p.m., where we'll try to bring you some pictures and videos of what has gone on at the NIB head office since around 4 p.m. This has been Hot Edition. Thank you very much for listening. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Bye for now.